Cool. So I'm going to kick off, and then Adam's going to join in if he thinks I've missed anything important. So it's worth noting my bias as a starting point. So I'm born and bred in Aberdeen, the oil capital of Europe, where a lot of talk about a just transition is going to have a very, very real impact on a lot of people's actual jobs day to day. And it's certainly in the past. I've heard a lot of things lately. I think Alex, when he was speaking a couple of weeks ago, suggested that all the oil companies should just be liquidated and we should redistribute the funds. I'm not sure how well that would go down in Aberdeen. That's a straight off idea. I'm not commenting on the right or wrongs of that. And also we're very aware that a lot's talked about kind of renewables, and that's fine. People can just transition from oil and gas to renewables. That's a total non-starter. So I've heard recently that there's something in excess of 1 million parts on an oil platform that various different people in different jobs have to keep working and moving and maintained and so on. And there's just not the same number of components and complexity in running, say, an offshore wind farm. It's just not the same at all. So there's no way the volume of jobs that are currently supported by oil and gas can be just supported by renewables. That's just not going to happen. So that presents a fairly big issue, I think, in terms of what we're going to do with a just transition. I think it's important. We need to take action. I've heard it suggested more than once by different commentators that because especially the UK continental shelf is pretty much the most expensive oil and gas in the world to extract, it's likely to be first on the chopping block. And because of that, we could see a sort of 1980s style just decimation of the industry. So where the coal industry in the 80s just fell off a cliff, there was no demand and kind of, and it's, we'll not get into kind of the whole Thatcher thing, but kind of, there was no demand, right or wrong about whatever you feel about the strikes and so on. And we do potentially face the same issue here. So to kind of put in £500,000 or whatever it is, or £500 million, I forget exactly, into a just transition fund. What is that going to look like? How are we going to support people? How do we market that? How do we not, there's a lot of skills and expertise there, but what do we do with it? And at that point, I'm kind of keen to throw it open to the kind of floor and see who's got any comments, and probably give Adam first crack if he thinks there's anything I've missed that I should have said.
No, I don't have anything particular to add to that. That's very much the framing, and I suppose it's been interesting growing up as a company as well in the north of Scotland. But even wider than that, there are energy ports all around our coast, and indeed internationally. If any industry could be an international industry, then energy is certainly one of them. So it's hard to understate, I suppose, just how big this just transition challenge really is. And I think certainly from the marketing context of it, how and to what extent it is the role of marketing in that.
I suppose one final thought, just in terms of marketing and market research. I was aware lately of a group who will remain nameless, who were doing research into what a just transition meant for people. And they were trying to get a good cross section of the community, which included a lot of kind of fairly deprived areas where there's a fair number of people getting their food from food banks and things like that. And I do kind of feel that it's difficult to think about a just transition if you don't know where your next meal's coming from.